was performing at a conference called Interrupt at Brown University, and he was performing with a group called Special America. And at the time, I was, stressed out grad student running around, trying to keep all the tech from breaking, and there was this dude there who had this keyboard around his neck, and I wasn't really sure what was going on. And then I watched them rehearse, and it was clear that I was in the presence of genius. Oh yeah. When a critic suggests that someone has reinvented a genre, or even invented a new one, it's hard to avoid rolling one's eyes. At best, it's a claim worthy of skepticism. At worst, it cheapens what should just be called innovation. Tonight, however, we have the supreme pleasure of witnessing an artist who may have done just that. Hotwriting, Todd Anderson's performance medium, and also incidentally the name of his recent book from InStar, which is available for sale, in which you will be getting some little swag to let you know how to get it. But yes, Hotwriting is difficult to describe, and even more difficult to define. Yet, having seen him perform so many different pieces of Hotwriting, I cannot deny that it's something both distinct and novel. It incorporates elements of performance art, but it's not quite performance art. It borrows from games, but it's not quite a game. It's deeply invested in language, but it's not exactly poetry. The only way to experience what Hotwriting really is to see it for yourself. So Todd Anderson is a graduate of Carleton College, co-founder of Medici, helps run Baby Castles Gallery in New York City. He's an MFA candidate in the Brown University Digital Language Arts program. Developer, designer, writer, entrepreneur, artist, and all-around fascinating human being. Please join me in welcoming the one and only Todd Anderson.
Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Ballmer! Developers, 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 developers. Who sets I love this company. Yeah!
James Brown gives me a poetry solo, and I realize that this is my moment. Ha! Playing Russian roulette with a turkey base for Philip. I can't believe it's not buttered with 5 stuffed animals in the basement of my childhood home. And soon, none of us can believe what we're not covered in. Come on! Like a salamander on a water slide, I want to coat my skin with Astroglide and watch the world smear around me as I'm carried to my wet destiny of free fall and misbehavior. And won't you love the slicklings I leave in your hallways and underwear? Don't be afraid of the thunder. That's just the youthful exuberance leaving my body. Ooh! And can I scream about double indemnity clauses and the state of modern packaging materials? And can I scream about the growing number of invalid ways to live? And can I scream about the corporate graveyards where the endless mountains of dead businessmen are shrouded in the most beautiful fog? And can I scream for the hungry and alone and the ones without a home? And can I scream for whatever it is inside of me that needs a scream to be set free? And can I scream and can I scream and can I... Woo! Baby, if I was a newspaper man, I'd be inclined to write a headline cover story about that time you doubted me and I exceeded expectations. But I'd probably get fired from the newspaper and be unable to pay child support once you divorced me, after we're married, of course, because of my lingering drinking problem, which I'd always promised to kick, but eventually succumbed to. Oh, things were nice once, weren't they? Touching the tall, thin pines and smelling their air freshener smell and getting can't touch other people sticky in the side. Let's lie down on the ground where there can never, oh never, be leaves. Baby, 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 can I, baby, 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 come on.
I am gonna invent an MP3 player that stores 3 megabytes of one song, and the only thing on it is a hot track of every child in America saying good morning, lossless, and the only way to change the song is to walk a quarter of a mile in the rain to an old schoolhouse gymnasium, and when everyone shows up the device will synchronously download and play the cut of Jackson 5. I want you back that will have you checking your fingers for dust from the vinyl, and then you will have your little dance party with the included jangle, 3 headphones all knocking together, producing ambient harmonic tones much in the style of 6 angels floating through the center of the atoms of the strings of a celestial guitar, and as Michael S. Parting streams fade, the plastic explosive in each bud will explode, preserving the pose of your ecstatic limbs, and the players will unfold their quadcopter blades and fly from your pockets to the nearest Best Buy, to be repackaged and resold because I am a very evil scientist. Ha 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 ha.
Todd's main credit card is an American Express. The number is 3. 5.
They have compared the prima materia to everything. The male and female, to the hermaphroditic monster, to heaven and earth, to body and spirit, chaos, microcosmos, and the confused mass. It contains in itself all colors. There is nothing more wonderful in the world, for it begets itself, conceives itself, and gives birth to itself. Pete is telling me about his Dungeons and Dragons character, a halfling with a harp of gold, and about how he has this power called prestidigitation, which lets him fuck with the world in all these tiny little ways. Hey, did you notice that your water tastes like cinnamon? He asks, and he wiggles his fingers at me. Haha, I got you, he says, prestidigitation. I got you, haha. Question, when the philosophers speak of gold and silver, from which they extract their matter, are we to suppose that they refer to the vulgar gold and silver? Answer, by no means. Vulgar silver and gold are dead, while those of the philosophers are full of life. Hey, did you notice your silver and gold are full of life? Haha, I got prestidigitation, I got you, haha. Alchemy is the belief that humanity will be saved by a thing, not an idea. I have a great fondness for things with many names, the thing from which the philosopher's stone might be made, the name which might call Allah in one of his many aspects, the name which might call Allah in one of his many aspects. We are all made out of what God is made out of, so why should we be any different? Is it wrong to cure cancer in the pursuit of gold? Not really, but it is distasteful, and turns humanity into a slightly worse story. And history will only judge us on the quality of our stories. Alchemy is the belief that humanity will be saved by a thing, not an idea. Haha, I got you. Haha. Once again, I fall into my feminine ways. Oh, once again, I fall into my feminine ways. Oh, once again, I fall into my feminine ways. Oh, once again, I fall into my feminine ways. Oh, once again, I fall into my feminine ways. Oh, once again, I fall into my feminine ways. Oh, once again, I fall into my feminine ways. Oh, once again, I fall into my feminine ways. Oh, once again, I fall into my feminine ways. Oh, once again, I fall into my feminine ways. Oh, once again, I fall into my feminine ways. Oh, once again, I fall into my feminine ways. Oh, once again, I fall into my feminine ways. I fall.
All right. So yeah, I think you up for a few questions here, Todd?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Cues.
Some A's for the Q's, yeah.
Yeah. I got lots of A's. Lots of A's.
Yeah, anyone,
The last bit You're supposed to read what you can, and like that's like I probably was playing faster than maybe I should have been, but it's supposed to be like it is supposed to be like moving by at a speed, like I don't know, like I want to get like the feeling of like text like kind of rushing past you, and there's like section. It's not like completely linear text. There's supposed to be fragments you can grab from it, and the idea there, like that, like you get something and extract something from it, but then it also like you have this feeling that like there's maybe something valuable that you missed, and so like I don't know, it creates more sense of wonder. Maybe I don't know. It's a different reading experience though than just like I would think it would be like a little tedious to just read that much text linear.
Another question. So I got one for you.
Yeah.
So I meant what I said in that introduction about I feel like Hotwriting is definitely a distinct medium, but I could not. It's clearly defined, but I couldn't define it. If you had to take a stab at it.
Yeah. Hotwriting is short for hotkey generated writing, or hotkey macro generated writing. So like the core element is that you like press keys on a keyboard and text appears, and you read it in some sort of reliable way where you can. There's different mechanisms through which this is a terrible explanation for a genre, but there's different ways that text comes out of the way you press keys, but there is still a relationship there. And so I guess I think of it as like as a form of like keyboard poetry instruments that can be played in performance or in the privacy of one's home. And there's lots of tropes in it that are maybe not guaranteed inherent in the medium, but like of like pressing keys and having sounds show up alongside text, or like having images change as you move your way through it. But I think the main thing is like that instrumental quality of like you press keys and there's different things that happen, and there's that kind of like recombinability that's like makes it much more satisfying to perform or go back to multiple times, even if you know the text. Like a lot of these pieces are performed a bunch of times, but it stays fresh and exciting for me because I can perform them a little different each time, press the timing a little different, do the keys in different order, and like even if one is just like kind of a linear thing, it still has that kind of Guitar Hero DDR type element of like doing it right in time, and like kind of keeps me in it. And so that's like I think core to the idea of Hotwriting as well, is that like it's not like a passive sit back, except for of course where's my key with it? For of course. Not directly sit back and enjoy you can imagine the ragtime piano music. But the rest of the pieces, it's very important that they won't happen if you're not there. Unless you have to keep pushing forward each step of the way, which is the other thing. Like the reader or performer is completely integral to the process of reading the piece. Which is another way of thinking of it as a medium.
Yeah, so kind of bouncing off of that, a lot of these pieces are a really interesting experience, working through them alone, playing them alone, but a very different one. How does that come into your process, like thinking about that?
So that's been a newer development. I come from a performance poetry, like a slam poetry background, at least before I started doing this. And so I very much had a mentality of like designing poems for a performance space. And so a lot of these pieces were initially designed as a performance, like for this kind of setting. And in the process of turning it into a book, it's been a lot of taking those things that are performances that are like kind of custom instruments like built just for me, and then turning them into things that could be for anyone that anyone could pick up. And like that involved, like a lot of times, like in the initial stuff, the button combinations that you had to press to like make stuff happen were really crazy, and like multiple keys at once, crazy order, no tutorial or any kind of instructions to help people out. And so a lot of the core stuff hasn't changed. It's just been about like systematizing like a consistent key order across things and like designing like how do I get someone to my level of proficiency playing these as quickly as possible. And like I think at this point it's like it's pretty it's pretty clear like what the different things do and how to get things out of them. I'm just having the advantage of having like many hundreds more hours playing them than other people, but yeah, so then like that performance aspect, I like to showcase like the many different ways you can play something, and then try and like inspire people to do their own thing when they play them on their own. So, other questions? Yeah.
How much new material are you cycling into your, I don't know, act performance? I'm not sure what to quote you. How much new stuff are you cycling in each time?
Each time? Well, I don't want to blow anyone's mind, but when I'm typing at you live on that WordPress, that's live. That's not live in real time. That's the most consistent new material. As far as like new actual artistic content, like new poems, new art, new assets, like the book as it stands now, there was like a period from during like 2015, 2016, where I was like regularly like adding new pieces to my performance. My book just came out in December, and so now it's a file. It's a like 200 megabyte file, and what's in there is in there, and I usually like perform out of it to like demonstrate, because I want to like at this point perform stuff that people can't see, but I usually try and like incorporate when I perform like something new and special, so like that. Not everyone can access my credit card number. So like that's a little special sauce for you guys. But as far as like maybe I'm not sure if that was the question you were asking, but like as far as like how much changes between a performance, like I do try and play them like kind of differently every time. And a lot of them I'll try to design like a bridge or a section where I can totally change the timing, and like the kind of like Yardley, Pennsylvania Fireflies sort of piece. That's one of my favorite like musical ones to play, and so I try and like create new rhythms and new hidden sounds between there each time as like a kind of new thing there.
Right. No, thank you. I mean, I imagine to sort of keep bringing in the big bucks. You've got the masses are screaming out for new material, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got
Yeah.
Satisfy them.
Right. No, and like there's enough pieces in here. You can do like 2 set lists out of the book basically and rearrange them. But yeah, no, it's like I'm now in the kind of like touring stage, and so I've got my major set list, and then once people are sick of that, I'm gonna hit them with some new stuff.
But I mean, so you make this. How does one make a living as a hot writer?
As a hot writer, work in progress, to be figured out. I mean, right now I'm a grad student, and so that's how I make my living. The other way, you go and you do talks at campuses, and you sell copies of your book with a bear on it. It's tough because like there's not really like an easy thing to latch onto as like a way of making a living from this, which is like makes an interesting question. There's like ways of making a living as a musician and as an artist and as someone who makes video games, and this has things in common with all of those elements, but it's not like a clear-cut one-to-one where I can just like naturally like, oh yeah, put me on the bill with this musician and like put me on this list of like best games of January or whatever, because like those fan bases are going to be like surprised and often upset unless like the right work of like saying like here's a new thing that's kind of like this thing you like but is also different. And then there is also like for like the writing and poetry circuit, like a lot of places aren't fitted out with projectors, or like I have to make my own, that kind of thing. And so right for the time being, like fortunately my art practice also involves me learning certain marketable skills, so I can freelance doing web development on the side to make the rest of the ends meet. But yeah, obviously the goal would be to try to do this more. So I think there is more of this kind of thing in Europe I've seen, and just like there's more of a like kind of experimental digital performance arts festival scene where you can get brought around different places and do things that way. And I don't know, I'm hoping to see the culture kind of shift to being like more curious about this kind of thing.
There are definitely sort of lower scale festivals in Europe where this kind of thing would go down, really well. It's kind of small bands and kind of weird independent movies that all are in the same festival, and those kind of places exist. So yeah, you're right. I can see that stuff.
Yeah. So, but this is still like that question I ask myself every day. It's like, how do I make a living doing this kind of thing? And I think it's like, it's really just like a hodgepodge of trying a bunch of different things and seeing what's next.
Kind of jumping off that in terms of community around these spaces. You obviously are helping to run baby castles and all that. So that's something which I certainly appreciate in terms of bringing a lot of different intellectual threads together around gaming. It's also a place which has been very good about bringing diversity to games in a lot of different senses. And that combination is something which I think is a little unusual. Can you tell us a little bit about how Baby Castles has kind of made that happen and like what the effect is?
Sure. Yeah. Baby Castles is a space I helped run in New York, or a gallery on 14th Street, also event space. Recently became a nonprofit in the fall. Just dedicated to showcasing, to putting independent video games, especially by creators who have historically not been represented, so often women and people of color, in front of different communities that don't typically play games. And kind of the way we do that is, and kind of this ties in, I personally got involved in Baby Castles through doing this kind of work and trying to so I have a background in playing lots of games and being interested in games, of trying to find a place to where you could have experimental writing with game design elements and interactive stuff. And so it's a similar ethos there where when there isn't a current named community for the thing that you're interested in, you have to just kind of plant a flag and create a space and invite people from every sort of adjacent thing. So I've seen lots of really exciting communities. We've had lots of different really small kind of games adjacent communities come through Baby Castles. There's a whole scene that's been growing over the past couple of years of live coding. Where I don't know, has anyone ever seen the live coding performance? And where you a lot of times people do it with sound, but sometimes they do it with visuals. Where you see the text file with as they're typing, and it generates sound and live processes that. And that's not some people who are doing that, but that's not a community that had institutions that long ago. And it's been interesting to kind of see that grow. And you get people who are musicians who are interested in that, and you get people who are developers who are interested in that, and you get people who are interested in just digital performance and stuff like that. And that's just a case example for Baby Castles of we try and create a space where you just kind of invite everyone who might be interested and try and be welcoming to everyone. So you get the hardcore games people, you get the musicians, you get the artists, you get the undergrad students from the neighboring universities who are still trying to figure out what they're interested in. You put people in a room together and see what they respond to, and it's I don't know, people are interested in a lot of the same stuff, even if they're have sequestered into these different genres. And I think going back to your thing and to your point of creating spaces where you can go to see this kind of stuff out, I think it's a lot of just bringing people together who self-define as one thing to kind of open up and be oh, not just this one thing, or this one thing isn't just the narrow trajectory laid out by the institutions that have existed before.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you very much, Todd. All right, ladies and gents, the book is Hotwriting.